Welcome back to the Dragon's Lair podcast, the podcast where we explore the hidden forces that shape not just your body, but your life. I'm Black Dragon.
And I'm Golden Dragon. Today, we're going deeper than ever before. We're taking apart the concept of mindset, what it means philosophically, what science tells us about it, and how it can transform your relationship with fitness.
This isn't just about positive thinking. We'll talk about ancient philosophy, stoicism, and existentialism, and how they predicted what modern neuroscience is proving, that your mindset quite literally changes your body.
So if you've ever struggled with discipline, self-doubt, or feeling like fitness just isn't you, this episode is for you.
Let's start at the philosophical level. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them."
That idea that your perception shapes your reality has become the foundation of modern cognitive behavioral therapy. In fitness, think about it. The weights don't change. The treadmill doesn't change. But how you interpret the discomfort, whether you see it as punishment or growth, changes everything.
It's also very existential. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, "Man is nothing else but what he makes of himself."
Exactly. Existentialists would argue that you're always free to choose your response, even in adversity. If you see your workouts as expressions of freedom, a chance to create yourself, then you reclaim your agency.
And that's not just theoretical. Research shows that a sense of autonomy, believing your choices are self-directed, predicts higher adherence to exercise programs. A 2011 meta-analysis published in Health Psychology Review found that autonomous motivation was one of the strongest predictors of long-term exercise maintenance.
Let's shift gears into neuroscience. The placebo effect isn't just a medical curiosity. It's evidence that belief alone can produce measurable physiological changes.
Yes, in a 2004 Science article, Benedetti and colleagues reviewed studies showing that placebo painkillers activated the same opioid pathways as real drugs. Belief triggers endogenous biochemistry.
And when it comes to fitness, the hotel maid study you mentioned in past episodes, Aaliyah Crum and Ellen Langer's 2007 study, proves this. Just telling participants that their cleaning work qualified as exercise led to weight loss and reduced blood pressure without any change in behavior.
That research underscores something essential. Your expectations can drive adaptation. If you expect your efforts to produce change, you prime your nervous and endocrine systems to support that change.
And Dr. Guang Yue's study on mental contractions, where simply imagining bicep curls increased strength by over 13%, shows that mental rehearsal builds neural pathways. Your mind literally teaches your muscles.
This brings us to Carol Dweck's work on growth mindset. She defines it simply. In a growth mindset, people believe that their most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work.
And it's not just an abstract belief. A 2019 study in Frontiers in Psychology found that athletes with a growth mindset reported higher motivation, greater resilience, and lower burnout.
Angela Duckworth's research in grit adds to this. Grit is passion and sustained persistence applied toward long-term achievement.
Duckworth showed that grit, not IQ, not talent, was the strongest predictor of success in demanding environments. And she found it could be cultivated by deliberately reframing setbacks as learning opportunities.
That's why people who adopt a growth mindset approach training with curiosity. They don't ask, Am I good or bad at this? They ask, how can I get better? That orientation fundamentally shifts adherence.
Philosopher William James once said, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes."
James anticipated what psychologists call the self-narrative, the story you tell yourself about who you are. In fitness, this narrative becomes either a chain or a catalyst.
James Clear in Atomic Habits argues, "Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become."
If you say, I'm just not athletic, you build a self-fulfilling prophecy. The brain, through the reticular activating system, filters experiences to confirm your belief.
But if you reframe and say, "I am learning to be athletic," you give your mind and body permission to grow. Neuroplasticity thrives in that context.
And neuroscience backs this up. A 2016 study in Nature Reviews Neuroscience confirmed that self-referential thoughts activate the medial prefrontal cortex. Basically, the brain area that updates your identity schema.
Let's be honest, motivation is unreliable. Discipline is the real backbone of transformation.
Jocko Willink famously says, discipline equals freedom.
From a psychological perspective, discipline is the alignment of behavior with values rather than with fleeting emotions.
And discipline, over time, builds what researchers call self-efficacy, the belief that you can influence your outcomes. Albert Bandura found that self-efficacy predicts everything from quitting smoking to recovering from injury.
In other words, discipline builds confidence, and confidence fuels action.
So, how do you apply this philosophy and research in your daily fitness practice? Let's share 5 strategies. Reframe discomfort. When you feel fatigue or soreness, label it as growth. This reframing activates the prefrontal cortex and reduces the threat response. Use visualization. Before your workouts, vividly imagine yourself performing movements with strength and confidence. Adopt a growth identity. Use language like, I am becoming someone who trains rather than I have to train. Create rituals, not just goals. Rituals, like pre-workout preparation, anchor behavior in discipline. Celebrate process wins. Acknowledge effort, not just outcomes. This sustains motivation over the long term.
And above all, be patient. Philosophers, psychologists, and athletes all agree. Becoming is a process. Growth takes time.
As Seneca wrote, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult.
Dare to reimagine what you're capable of, mentally and physically.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through philosophy, science, and self-mastery.
If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, leave us a review, and remember, mindset is muscle.
Train both and watch your life transform. See you next week.